And again, I want to kind of circle back. Obviously, we had the whole situation with kind of Channel 5 going at you and stuff, and blaming academics for the violence and stuff.
Which, for the record, me and Andrew Callahan did have a very good conversation on the phone after that, where he essentially apologized for sort of misrepresenting me in this one Instagram post that he made and everything, and we ended the conversation off very cordially, which I didn't really bother to like communicate to the public. But for anybody who thinks that we're still like at each other's necks, it's not really the case.
That's good, man. I'm glad.
Not that was ever really the case, but
I kind of was putting together a really long, scathing video, like clapping back at a lot of the points he made, because I was quite upset about some of the stuff he put across. But in the end, I decided not to go through with it.
Would watch. Would watch.
I mean, thing is, there was just so many points. Like when you actually break down all the stuff he said, both in your interview and in the documentary, it was just, there was so much contradictory stuff. And also, it just felt to me that he completely didn't really understand the progression of this street music situation and how it's become so popular.
Well, yeah, like I saw a clip of Hassan reacting to the O-Block video that he did where he interviewed me or whatever. And like Hassan, when I say that I think drill music is net bad for society, he's like laughing at that opinion. And I'm kind of thinking in my head, I'm like, well, you know, if I were to list off the top 5 rap journalists in the game right now, not journalists, because obviously me, Vlad, and Ak don't want to be called that, but I think pretty much everybody be on board with that. So it's interesting how you, as a much more passive consumer of the culture, are so certain that drill music doesn't have anything to do with violence.
Well, it's not that I feel like it doesn't.
No, not you. I'm talking about Hassan.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah, man. I've just felt like it was like so many of those points. Like that's just like the most. It's almost like he. I know he likes hip hop, but it's just like you missed so many important details about this space.
Yeah,
it's such low hanging fruit. It's like such like day one shit to try and blame academics in the war in Chirac for stuff.
I see Nicki Minaj say the same thing, where Nicki Minaj was like, I can't believe Eric Adams is acting like drill music is responsible for violence or whatever. I'm like, I'm guessing that you're not as tapped in with what's exactly going on in terms of drill music as a lot of people that I'm having conversations with who I think could probably agree that it definitely increases violence.
Well, I just want to say, setting aside the violence and just talking about the popularity of drill gang violence based content, nobody wants to point the finger at the guy that I think turned gang culture into entertainment more than everybody, 6ix9ine, because being a blood for entertainment wasn't really a thing before him. I feel like in 2018 when he got on and he was doing that song, he was surrounded by the Bloods, Blicky with the Stiffy or whatever, it was like before that, I feel like rappers' gang affiliations was a bit more of a secret thing. He used it as a come up, and I felt like after that, after 6ix9ine kind of made it a thing of like, let's all monetize and make money off of and use the gang affiliations as a vehicle for fame and success, it then became a thing of like everybody trying to put on their gang shit.
Because 6ix9ine is straight up like a rap fan who has a hard on for street shit. You know, like he himself didn't grow up as a gangbanger or whatever, but he was clearly looking at it. He knows about the fucking politics, all the Chicago shit before there was even people like you breaking it down. He was somebody that was studying that shit. So then when you have like a little Dirk dissing him on a Drake song, that's the worst thing in the fucking world to him, because these are the people that he grew up admiring and shit. So he kind of couldn't help but sort of like leak his appreciation for a lot of that shit into his content and stuff. If you like watch his stories and stuff, he'll always like post a random clip singing along to some drill song that I haven't heard or whatever, you know?
Yeah, he used to always say like Rondo Number 9 was his favorite rapper and shit, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, you know, the Channel 5 thing, you know, it's just like, I feel like he missed so many details about this scene that would just be obvious to anyone. I mean, there was the one bit that really grinded my gears in that video where he basically says, DJ Academics, the war in Chirac, profited a bunch off of these gang situations and made light of it, and then this created an algorithm that created a bunch of other copycat channels, one of which is No Jumper. And it was like, bro, you literally don't know anything. Like, bro, what are you talking about? You came up off the SoundCloud era.
Right.
You're not, like, to say, like, the gang algorithm birthed all these channels off of DJ Academics.
It's weird, too, when people act like the war in Chirac was that big, because his main channel was always bigger and getting more views. It's like, it was very much like a fringe channel in comparison, and I found it interesting and stuff, but it wasn't huge, you know?
Even now, 8 years on, and Academics is one of the biggest names in this space. You go on the War on Chirac channel, some of those videos ain't even got that many views.
Right.
Like, so it's like, it seems disingenuous to like make this argument of like, oh, Academics masterminded this whole thing of like putting across this gang content, where it's like, it wasn't even that. It still isn't even that popular, like
Right.
this stuff. And
But that's what happens when you get real popular, because that narrative didn't really exist until he got on Everyday Struggle, and then it was kind of like, oh, okay, we need a solid thing that we can just always lean on to basically dehumanize him and say that he's a terrible person. They chose that, and that's just like a thing that a lot of people tend to do in our culture, is they basically identify the worst thing that they've decided that you ever did, and then that's their response to everything that you ever say, as well as their reason why they never have to engage in dialogue with you, you know? So it's like, that's just basically like same thing with fucking Vlad. People always point out the Rick Ross thing, or they'll always point out, like, I don't know, you interviewed the fucking dude who shot Bankroll Fresh or whatever. You know, with Vlad, I mean, he's just been making content for so long. There's so many fucking things that they could just grab for. You insulted the Minister Farrakhan, whatever, and then that's their response to every single opinion that Vlad's ever going to have for the rest of his life. It's fucking stupid.
it is stupid. And again, you know, there's a lot of hypocrisy involved in it too. I mean, Andrew was going at you of like, oh, don't you think it's bad that you're talking to FBG Cash and asking people about their street affiliations, which one I don't even feel like you even do to the extent they're making out. But bro, if you go back and check out Andrew's interview with Draco the Ruler, talking about, do you really rob Asians? You know what I mean? Oh, well, tell me what flute flamming really is. Like, oh, you know, oh, is that what you say to the Asian people? Like, this, he's doing the stuff he's accusing you of. And it's like, like, is that really the criticism that you're going to level at someone else when you were trying to get into that whole thing yourself?
Well, it's just funny. For me, I notice the stuff I don't ask way more than the stuff I actually do ask, because I never fucking name their ops, basically. You know, I'm never, like, if it's a rapper, okay, cool, but I'm not going to fucking interview a BD and say, so how do you feel about the Gangster Disciples? They're your mortal enemies. They're responsible for dozens of your friends dying, you know? And that's stuff that, like, I hear other interviews damn near doing when I'm listening to certain people interview Crip Mac. It's like, so the Hoovers are bad. You hate the Hoovers. Tell me all about it. I never, in all my fucking times interviewing Crip Mac, I don't think I ever said the word Hoover one time.
I respect.
Probably not true, but like, I told him from the beginning, I don't want you to use this as a platform to attack your enemies.
Well, I think you did a really good job on your work with Crip Mac, because I think you did so much to really like humanize him and sit him down at a table and have conversations about him as a person, as a human being.
Scott!
What was that bit?
That's like when I asked him if he had a gay neighbor, how he would treat him. Like, you got Scott living next door, how would you feel? Fuck Scott! Okay.
What was the other thing he said? Oh man, I don't want to put him on blast like that. But like, I feel like you did so much to just like make him seem like a normal dude. I mean, when Andrew interviewed him, you know, there's bits in that video where you can tell he's holding back laughs. You know, he's kind of making fun of him. He's doing him like he did the Proud Boys.
Right.
You know what I mean? In his other content. So it's kind of like,
and he's conscious of that dynamic too. He said that when we did our interview, is that he knows that if his interviews are sort of like, you know, dunking on the person that he's interviewing, that he's going to be very limited in the number of interviews he's going to be able to get. So they're conscious of the way that they edit it and everything like that. So then I was a little surprised when I was kind of like edited to be like the fucking villain of rap music or whatever. But, you know, at the same time.
But again,
you're telling a story, you know.
I poured over those videos in great detail when I was thinking about making my piece, and it's like, again, if you watch his interview and what he included of your conversation, and then you listen to the uncut conversation you had on No Jumper, it tells a different story and it comes across differently. But you know, I think you know, I didn't want to go too hard at him because I really respect him. I think he's like an awesome journalist. He's someone I would have always looked up to, and it just felt like when that O Block thing came out. And it was like all the stuff he did on O Block with Boss Top and all those guys, taking them to the baseball game. It was awesome. And it was almost just like, bro, why did you need to spend an extra 10 minutes in this video going at all the journalists who are in this space, who work hard and like actually try and get to the root of what's going on in this scene? Just kind of shitting on everybody. It just seemed like less well researched than his usual stuff. Yeah,
I thought that was, I feel you on that.
And then, you know, it's like, you're so wrong for interviewing FBG Cash. Next week, he's chilling with Alex Jones.
He was dying to do that fucking interview. Like, FBG Cash was like the happiest fucking dude to do that interview that I ever met. You know, like he was, and I felt like we had a very good experience. I think sometimes we titled the clips like me asking things that they then don't really like elaborate on. You know, like we kind of like we'll ask a question, they dip and dodge around actually answering the question, but then we put it on the clips channel. The title suggests that they actually answer the question. So that's why when Ish and fucking Ice on Joe Budden's podcast, and they're like, no, I've never actually watched any of these. I'm like, okay, well, you're kind of falling for the clickbait right there. All right, people, we just hit 300,000 subscribers. You know we're trying to hit 400,000 subscribers. So that little red button, tap it, tap in. Appreciate y'all.